You are listening to the USDN on the DFPN.
It's a trap!
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. Oh my God. Some stories are born from imaginations, others are forged through survival. Tonight on the USDN Podcast, we're joined by writer and creator John Holland of Die Bold Comics to talk assassins, demons, legacy storytelling, and the power of building a comic catalog that spans decades of ideas, from an upcoming crowdfunder Akemi to a digital library of nearly 30 published works. This is a conversation about evolution, endurance, and indie comics without limits. The Council of Nerds is now in session. John, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I have to tell you that opening was pretty cool.
I appreciate that. Shout out to Kelvin for making that happen for me. And let's dive into it, man. We got a lot to get into. So, John, for folks discovering you for the first time tonight, who is John Holland and what is Die Bold Comics?
Die Bold, I've been working in comics for, quite a while. I started writing back in the 90s, or I started getting published back in the 90s, back when the direct market kind of just got started, when you had First Comics, Eclipse Comics, Comico, Fantagraphics, when all those publishers were up and about. And at that time I was getting published in, like, I've worked with Fantagraphics, I've worked with Innovation. At the time, Innovation was adapting the Quantum Leap, the original version of Quantum Leap, the TV show, and I wrote the Christmas issue of Quantum Leap for him, where he jumped into Santa Claus, and it was
that's really cool.
So I did, Innovation, Fantagraphics. I've worked for Kitchen Sink. I did short stories for their Death Rattle comic. I did Caliber, Malibu, pretty much about, a whole bunch of those smaller publishers at the time I've worked with.
Hey, Malibu did print the first Spawn.
Yeah. That was they did Image for a brief time before Image went off on their own.
Yep.
I did an adaptation of the Death World novels by Harry Harrison for them.
Okay.
And then right towards the end of the 90s, I self-published my first comic. In fact, it was Die Bold, which is where I ended up getting the name from the publishing company later. Because it had such a cool name that, it really didn't have anything to do with the comic. It just was more the name than anything that made me want to use it for a publishing company. So we did 2 issues of Die Bold, and then I kind of took a break. I think I got burned out. Things just kind of didn't seem to be going anywhere. I took a break for a few years. And then when I decided to come back, I already had this collection of stories, that I'd already did in the 90s. With Fantagraphics, I did a series called Lizards in their Critters Anthology. And when I came back, I decided to publish them as comics, put them into, I had 5 issues worth of comics stories that I was able to do. So that was like 5 issues right there. And then I'm still working on it. Just a 6th issue came out a while back. So hopefully that's one of those things that I'm going to keep doing.
Okay.
And then
that's really cool.
Yeah, and most of that stuff was in black and white. So when I was coming back, I wanted to color some of it. Like Diebold, we colored, and I found a colorist to work on it at the time. And then while he was doing that, he told me, he says, I draw too. So I was like, oh, cool. So we ended up doing a new story, 4 issues of Ayla, Speaker for the Dead, with Javier Laparo, which was really the first, kind of the beginning. At the time, I wasn't publishing as Diebold. It took me a little while to actually market myself or brand myself as a company. I was just publishing under my own name. I was just, but I got to the point where I figured I needed something to bring it all together and brand, have a brand, not just, okay, this is a comic by me and there's another comic by me. And, people didn't know what, it was all kind of all over the place because I write in so many different genres to begin with. It's not like, oh, I only write science fiction or I only write horror. I'm all over. I write humor, horror, science fiction, slice of life. Anything that, gets my attention, I'll write. So I put it all, I decided to put it under the Diebold label. And I've just been republishing some of my older stuff and then doing, newer stuff with that too, just to get it out. Which, like I said, I'm about up to almost 30 titles right now.
Okay. That puppy is having a whole lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
But so you've been writing for a long time across a lot of genres. When you look back, what do you think has stayed consistent in your storytelling?
Oh, I don't know. Like I said, I try to, I try not to, I try to mix things up, and change the genres and change the way I write stuff too, I try to keep things fresh and going. So I don't know if I have anything that, has stayed the same throughout everything.
Okay. So let's jump right on into Akemi. And it's going to be on Fund My Comics or Fund My Comic.
Yeah.
Where did that story begin for you? Was it a character, a theme, or just something else entirely that said you wanted to do that book?
It actually started, we talked about this a little before. Ben Dunn from Antarctica Press had a title called Warrior Nun. And it came out in the 90s, and he actually sold it to a studio, and Netflix did 2 seasons of it. They did, Warrior Nun was on Netflix, I think, for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Well, when he sold it, he sold all the rights to it. So he couldn't do the comic book version of it. They owned everything. And, I've did some work with Ben, he's published a few things from me, we've done some work together, and Ben's a really super nice guy. And I don't really know the details of everything. So a lot of this is just me guessing on part, but he started to talk about, he couldn't bring back Warrior Nun, but he wanted to bring back something similar to it. So I'm assuming he probably had a non-compete clause, and I'm assuming that probably was running out. And, so he posted that, and it kind of got me thinking. I've never read Warrior Nun, and I never saw the TV show, so I really don't know what it's about. But I like the idea of a fighting nun. It's just something about that. They're kind of, I was like, that was kind of in the 90s. Kamiko had put out a comic called Evangeline that was by Chuck Dixon and Judith Hunt. That was a fighting nun too, and that was a book that I always enjoyed. They went from Kamiko to, I think, First and a couple other publishers. So I kind of like the idea. It interested me. So I decided to write up a script to see what I could come up with. And I came up with the character, Akemi. And I think it was good that I didn't know anything about Warrior Nun. So, and I still haven't seen anything. So unless I just happened to come across a subject, something that, is similar to it, the only similarity should be that they're fighting nuns. It's a battling nun. So, I came up with that, and there was an artist at the time that was kind of connected to it, and we actually were going to pitch it to Ben. And I actually talked to Ben about it. I went to San Diego last year and talked to him at the San Diego Con, and Ben had read it, said he liked it, but he told me, he says, well, just go off and kickstart it or something. So he really didn't seem like he was wanting to publish it so much. So I was like, that's cool. I'll go off. And so I waited for this other artist for, San Diego was July. So it has to be a good 6-7 months. And I finally came to the conclusion that this wasn't going to move forward with this artist. He had a lot on his plate. Other things were coming up that, so around the end of last year, beginning of this year, I started looking for a new artist, and I went on Facebook. And I know to a lot of people, Facebook is, a very toxic place. A lot of people don't like Facebook.
But the indie comic community on Facebook is some of the most top-notch people out there.
Oh, yes. And in the last probably 10 years, all the artists that I've worked with, I've found on Facebook. So Facebook is, like you said, Facebook has a really good indie community. So I actually went on some of those group sites and advertised that I needed an artist. I just posted, hey, I'm looking at it. And, I probably got like close to 100 people,
Easy.
Posted, Yeah. And Jorge was one of the first people that had messaged me. And I looked at his work and I thought, oh, it's good, but it wasn't exactly what originally I had in mind for Akemi, because the artist that originally was working on it was more of like kind of a Neil Adams type artist. So I was kind of thinking along that line, and Jorge's art's completely different. And so I kept looking for some of these other artists, but I kept going back to Jorge's art. I kept going like, this is so good. I really like his artwork. So it didn't take me long to realize this should be the artist for this book. And so I got hold of him and we started working on it. And one of the advantages and one of the I guess the great things about it is Jorge is fast. Like I said, we started this in January, and he's already got the first issue done. The first issue is 100% done, colored, letter, and he does everything. He draws, colors it, and letters it.
Okay.
And he's the book. That's one of the good things about this is there's no risk involved in this campaign because the book is done. When we reach the end, we'll be able to just send it to the printer, and then that's going to be the only wait is waiting for the printers to get the book back, and then we'll be sending it to the backers. And we're already starting on the second issue. I've got the second issue just about finished wrote. And he's going to start drawing it. So we're hoping that the second issue will be done by the end of the campaign, or maybe a little after that, so we can go do a campaign for that, and we can get it. So the issues will fall. At least my goal is the first 4 issues to kind of fall on maybe a bi-monthly schedule, because I don't think we're going to.
That's actually really good. Yeah.
And I think that'll help it, because the problem, and it's happened to me too. With some of the stuff I've created, is you do an issue and then it takes 8 months to do the second issue. And it's like you're losing a lot of people within those 8 months. If we can get that out on a regular basis, and then we'll do a trade for that, and then hopefully come back and do another 4 issues, because I see this as an ongoing project. Something that could last as long as the two of us want to keep doing it.
That's really good, because I've backed some Kickstarters before where I think I backed it in December of 2024 and I got it in December of 2025. It just had that many setbacks with artists and that kind of stuff. It was horrible, but the book turned out amazing. And it's no fault of the person who wrote it and put it together. It's just shitty luck, I guess.
I'll be up front right now. I've got a Kickstarter that we did that's at least 1.5 years old that we haven't been able to fulfill yet because I'm waiting for the artist.
That's wild to think about. At this point, I would have done fired and found a new one.
Well, the problem is, the book is more the artist's book than it was for me. He created he came up with the concept, and I kind of used it. He wanted to use it through Diebold, which now looking at it, I probably should have said no, because now it looks like I'm the one behind. My other Kickstarter I did was Alma, and again, it was finished before I went to the Kickstarter. I will never do a Kickstarter or any crowdfunding if it's not 100% finished, it's going to be 90% finished. I can't deal with that. And this other thing has just been driving me crazy, you know. So, but from now on, everything will be done.
If it's got your stamp on it, you're putting your reputation at risk for somebody, and that's hard to do.
Yeah. But, lesson learned, you know. I mean, it was a hard lesson, and but hopefully I can, at least with everything else, when I come out with it, when they see that it comes out on time, we'll realize that I'm not going to, keep that pattern up.
Yeah. So Akemi is a character trained from childhood to be an assassin, but the story itself is more about escape and reclaiming themselves. What made you want to kind of it's almost like a contradiction almost, but what made you go with that?
I don't, it's first and foremost, I think it's an action adventure story. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of, adventure in it, but I don't, I like to put some subtext behind the story. I don't, just want to have, two people fighting or whatever. Yeah. And just the idea of her being a nun in a sense, or, being the whole Catholic Church, and then she's coming from Japan. So part of it is going to be that combination of, she grew up in Japan, and, her father was very bad to her, but she still, she was raised in the Shinto religion. That's her life until the age of 12. So it's not that easy to just pick her up and put her in another religion and say, okay, this is your new God. This is who you have to, worship now. So there's going to be that tension between that. And, she started in the book, there's a couple pages in the book that we have when she was still living in Japan, where she was 10 years old, and she's out there fighting, a whole group of bad guys and stuff, or actually not bad guys, but, she's fighting them and killing them, at 10 years old. So she was trained from as soon as she could walk, by her father to be this assassin ninja. Somebody on Facebook, when I was posting, somebody made a comment. They said, "Oh, it's a nunja," a combination of a ninja and a nun.
Yeah. That's kind of wild. Cool concept, though. But the Order of Innocent Blood is such a striking concept. What role do they play in Akemi's journey, and what do they kind of represent on a thematic level?
The name I've had for years. There was an actual Order of Innocent Blood back in the 1800s from the Catholic Church, and some reason that name has always stuck with me, and I've almost used it for other stuff, and it's never quite worked out. And this was, I figured this is going to be the perfect spot for it. And they're part of the Catholic Church, and they're tasked with fighting, the demons and the monsters. And so they're pretty much the good guys, but there's still that conflict that, she's having to deal with the whole new religion and, against her old religion. So, but they're more or less the good guys. I'm not going to say they're 100% good, but because I don't think once you start throwing religion into a lot of stuff, that hardcore, it gets
the water definitely gets murky.
Yes.
But so the series is blending action and horror and emotional trauma. How did you find balancing the monster fighting with the very human cost of Akemi's past?
It's just, as I write, I just have to kind of, I don't want to write, I'll write so many pages of, fighting or whatever, but then I know I've got to pull back and I want to do more than just, this is a fight. I want to show how it's affecting Akemi, or, something from her past. And the first issue, pretty much almost the way the book is broken down, between every 2 and 3 pages, it's a whole new scene. It's a whole, it's it goes pretty fast if you look at it like that. It's you go from the beginning of the book, she starts off coming to America, then it flips back to when she was a kid and comes back to, so it moves really quick. There's no long scene. I think the longest scene in one time is 3 pages.
Now, is this like a 28 page or a 32 page comic?
24 pages.
Okay. Okay.
24 pages. Now the second issue is pretty much one storyline. It's her first, once she's with the group and they're kind of having their first battle and stuff. So
okay. Nice. I like these kind of stories, and this story is very much in line with like, something is killing the children in the House of Slaughter and that kind of stuff. And I just really like these types of stories.
It's strange you brought that up. I never really read James Tyrion that much, like with his Batman DC run. Because I wasn't.
Nobody did. To be fair, I didn't either. I was in he's not. I will never take anything from him. The man is a genius of a writer. Just some of the stories, like I probably have all his titles minus his Batman. To be fair, I highly regard him as a writer and a creator, and I just couldn't get behind that Batman run.
Yeah, well, and I think
it's not him.
His Batman run influenced me where I never really picked up any of his other work. I was kind of like, I don't want to read it.
Out on a lot of good stuff.
I've started to. I picked up. What was it? One of the first things I picked up from him was the Deviant. And that just blew me away.
What'd you think about it?
This was so good.
Yeah,
and it made me pick up. I've read the first, or maybe the first and second storyline from Something Is Killing the Children. I haven't finished reading it yet because I'm waiting to. I want to get like the big book, the
omnibus. Yeah.
So, but I just loved it. I was like, wow. I said, this was mine.
That's good. Check out the Department of Truth.
Oh, see, I need to. Yeah, but
The Nice House by the Lake.
The
Exquisite Corpses. That list can go on and on and on. That's how big of a fan of his I am. But Batman was not it for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going back and looking at it, but somewhere I think part of Something Is Killing the Children. I don't know how or where, but I think some of that influenced this storyline, because I just read it before I started doing this character, and it just was so good, and I read the one with what's her name's brother. What is it, the House of Slaughter?
So there's the House of Slaughter, and then
there's
other little like mini stories in there too, like the Book of Cutter, and House of Slaughter finally came to a close. They closed that chapter out finally.
Okay,
which was just so good and so brilliant.
Yeah, so I'm slowly going back and filling in the gaps because, like I said, I just kind of ignored him because of Batman. And once I started reading, Deviant was just such a good book. I mean,
dude, that was like if you were going to pick a book to get back into his writing, the Deviant was the way to go.
Yeah, it looked so different from everything that I thought, okay, and that's what I like to, I'll pick up a book that I don't have any idea about if it looks different. I was like, this looks really different, and it held me. I was like, all right, now I got to start reading some of his other stuff. So,
you definitely cheated yourself.
Now I've got a lot of books that I have to go out and buy.
Hey, and to be fair, they're not. You're not going to be disappointed. One of the first ones I picked up was the Deviant, the Nice House by the Lake, and then the Nice House by the Sea. Exquisite Corpses that he's currently doing right now has been just a brilliant mastermind of writing on that one, and it just got sold as well. I think he sold like 3 series back to back to back to become TV shows or movies.
Wow. Well, besides his writing so good, he's probably one of the best people in years for marketing and taking his, creating his own brand. I mean, he has done it's amazing what he's done to, since he's left, the mainstream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Then he has his own production company now called Tiny Onion. They have titles with Image, with Boom Studios, and he's got a series. I'm trying to think of what it's called. Let This One Be the Devil, about the Jersey Devil.
Oh,
it's
wow.
like the birth of the Jersey Devil. That one was really good. But yeah, I don't think he's put his name on a bad title since Batman.
Yeah, he's who I want to be when I grow up. I mean, I want to,
you and me both. And I think I'm actually older than him.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, no, he's brilliant. He's got a great marketing team. they've been doing the Exquisite Corpse tour here lately and just doing the pop-ups with that and signing the books. And the way they designed that book around a tabletop board game. So whoever dies in the board game is the next killer that dies in the comic book.
Oh, wow.
So it's just been this really amazing like storytelling between him and Michael Walsh, and I think Jordy Belair is in there. So it's just been brilliant. I can't say enough nice things about him, but that Batman run was not it. I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a big
if I ever
Batman.
said anything bad about him, it was that Batman run wasn't it.
Yeah, I haven't been. The only Batman that I've read in the last couple decades was probably, and a lot of people don't like him, is Tom King. You know,
Okay.
Because I'm just over the big, dark and grim and never smiles, and you know, Tom King actually kind of, you know, he made him smile a few times. He gave him a little more, you know, than just
a little more personality.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's been some. I really enjoyed the Hush run, the Hush 2, which is ongoing, I think. What is it? The Three Jokers was really good. The Longest Halloween is really good.
Yeah. Now
There's been some few stories in there that have been good, but am I just going to go out and like grab it? No, I'm not.
Yeah, I am reading Matt Fraction's The New Batman, and I'm reading Absolute Batman.
So I'm not reading any of the Absolutes. I did try the Absolute Flash. It was okay for about 10 issues, and I was just done. But what I've been doing is I'm a cover guy. So if there's been like certain artists who have done certain covers for them, like the what's his name? Oh my God, I can't even remember his name now. But he did a Holy Trinity with the Batman, the Superman, and the Wonder Woman combination covers. Mark Spears.
Okay.
I got the Mark Spears connecting covers for issues 1 in the foil variant because it was just so cool. And I seen them sitting there and I was just like, okay, you can come home. I got you. But they're just so beautiful. And I'm a big fan of Mark Spears' art. And so for me, that was like, okay. And then like I just picked up the Joker cover. The Joker cover was absolutely beautiful. I can't remember who the artist was on it, but just the spin on Joker, it was just amazing. You know, I love that concept of the Joker in this Absolute series. So
I like the fact that the Absolute universe is really a lot different than the normal DC universe. That they really went, you know, they took that concept and you know put their spin on it. But I will say, I think of all the titles, the Absolute Wonder Woman is the best. I
heard it was Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter is what everybody.
Yeah, Martian Manhunter is it's right up there with it. Martian Manhunter is very good, but Martian Manhunter, sometimes my brain just kind of like when you read it, you just go like, boom.
So the Absolute Flash it didn't work for me because it felt like any other Flash story. And that's why it didn't work. It didn't did it feel like the stripped down versions like the Absolute Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman? No, to me, it kind of didn't. But that's me though. I'm not a big mainstream comic book fan. I will always prefer the indie comics over the big two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but let's keep on going talking about some Akemi here. So without spoiling anything, what do you want readers to take away after they read this first issue?
I want people to I guess like the character of Akemi, you know, and kind of relate to her, you know, her issues that she has, and to see her. I want people to see Akemi as a real person, you know, to me, you know, if I'm reading a book or, you know, a comic and I can relate to that person, even if they're completely different from me, that means I'm going to keep reading that book or that comic or whatever, you know. There's got to be some type of connection. And I just want people to have that connection to the character. You know, she's going through a lot, you know, she's definitely not, you know, she's only in the main storyline. She's going to be 16 years old. So, you know, she's learning how to be an adult. She's learning how to be the person, she came from
she's becoming a person,
relationship. Yeah. So,
this book is going to be on Fund My Comic. We have not had a book on here before that is going to be funded by Fund My Comic. We've done Kickstarters, we've done Indiegogo, we've had many of just self-publishers where you can go to their website and purchase their books. But this is the first time we've had somebody doing a comic book funding through Fund My Comic. I know you just kicked it off today, but can you kind of walk us through what that's been like so far?
Well, I just clicked to see if anybody's backed it, but no. So far, as of today, I'm kind of freaking out because today we launched today and there's no backers, but it's the first day, so I'm not. I'm keeping that. But the actual setting everything up and going through was very simple. It was a very easy process. It's the template. You just go in and put everything in place, and then when you get it in place, you have to they have to review it. It took them I don't even think it took them 4 hours to review it, and it came back and it approved. So everything has been, they use Stripe instead of PayPal, which I've always been more of a PayPal person, So I had to go back and I had a Stripe, but I think it was so old that I had to go back and kind of it was connected to an old account that I had to update.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad because a lot of places use Stripe, so I probably need that anyway. But it's been simple now. The biggest difference, Kickstarter has a lot bigger reach. Kickstarter has a lot more people that, I look at Kickstarter. Kickstarter is like its own comic shop. There's people on Kickstarter, I think, that never probably go to a comic shop. They just scroll through the comics on Kickstarter and pick what they like. They probably never even, leave their house to go to a comic shop. They just buy on, so there's a lot, you can get people, you pick up people on Kickstarter that, that probably never seen your Facebook posts or your ads that you put out. They just seen it by scrolling through Kickstarter. Fund My Comic, I don't know how big that is. I know it's not as big as Kickstarter. They do but then by the same token, Fund My Comic is geared just for comic books. It doesn't have, a lot of other, Kickstarts everything, but so, I do see, like people like Pat Broderick is on Fund My Comic, Mike Barron's on Fund My Comic. So I do see some, some established names using it. And I've seen people, and I kind of scrolled through it to see if people were actually funding their comics. If I was scrolled through it and I kept seeing people not funding, I would have been like, okay, this is not a good. So,
so I have seen people run like simultaneous, programs with Indiegogo and Kickstarter both at the same time. I'm just like, that is a lot of work.
I'd be dead. It's hard enough to just run one campaign. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm worried now because basically I'm doing this campaign. As soon as this ends, I should be doing a Zoop campaign. As soon as that ends, I'm actually going back to Kickstarter. I have a Kickstarter coming up in a couple months. So it's
I'm glad you brought up Zoop because that's what we're talking about next.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought it up, man. So your Diebold Comics digital library is on Zoop. Nearly 30 comics in one digital collection. What made you want to bring your entire body of work together like this?
It gives me a chance to get it in front of everybody. And I kind of had the idea. I've had it for like about a year and a half now that, Kickstarter, when you look at Kickstarter, you see more and more people backing the digital versions of stuff. I mean, it still hasn't got over half, but there's a lot of people are going just digital now. So I thought, well, I wanted to try something that there is no this campaign from Zoop when it launches. There is no print versions. There is no physical versions. It's all going to be digital. You can buy, any of the comics, digitally. So one, it's going to be cheaper because I don't have to worry about printing and shipping. So all of them, will be a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
you can get. And as soon as the campaign's over, you'll be getting your comics, within, as quick
That's
as I
really
can
cool.
get everything done and shipped to people. I don't expect to make a lot of money off of it because they will be cheaper. I haven't decided on the exact price for it yet, but it's probably going to be at least half the price, or if not less than what a print version costs. But by the same token, all the money I make off of a digital library, there's nothing I'm having to spend.
There's no overhead. It's money in your pocket.
Yeah,
For
once
more
Zoop
comics.
takes their money out of it, everything is mine. So if I only make $500 off of it, that's $500 I can use to make the next comic or whatever. So I just thought it was a cool idea to give it a try. I know a few people have did it since, before me, but I actually tried this about a year ago or more with there's a site in New Zealand called Comic with an X.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, I was actually one of the first people that he contacted, kind of joined that, and he sells digital comics. He sells them online like Comixology or whatever.
Yeah.
And he wanted to try and do a crowdfunding site. And so I was his guinea pig, and we tried to do the digital library, and it didn't turn out too good. And there's, mainly because nobody knew about it. It was hard to get the word out. So, but that idea stayed with me, and I was like, I really still want to do this. I originally was going to do it for Kickstarter, but I've been wanting to do it. I've been wanting to try Zoop for the last year or two since I've heard about it. One of the things from what I understand, Zoop right now, we're on just in the beginning stages. They just basically approved my campaign, but Zoop basically they do the heavy lifting. They do, they create the campaign for you, so you kind of don't have to do a whole lot of work.
It's really nice.
Yes. Well, we'll see. Like I said, I haven't got to that point yet. We're just getting there. They just sent me an email saying, hey, we're going to get ready to start doing this soon. So we'll see how it goes and, how it works out. And, Zoop has built kind of a following. They're kind of like Fund My Comics where, they're not going to have a, Kickstarter size funding, but a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people go through Zoop, a lot of big names, have went through Zoop.
So your library spans A Girl and Her Dog to Alma to Robot Sets. Is there anything that kind of like connects those books together, or any of your books together? Or are they just all like,
well, it's kind of funny. Like Alma, Ayla, Robot Sex, those three for sure. I've kind of dropped little hints in it that they're all in the same universe.
Okay.
Nice. There's not a lot to because all of those, almost set in the present. Robot Sex is set way, way, way in the future. And what was the third? I forgot what the third one was now.
A Girl and Her Dog.
A Girl and Her Dog stands by itself. It's kind of like a slice of life. Ayla is set in the near future. So
gotcha.
Kind of there's a little connections between it, but nothing major. And I just dropped it and just kind of thought, I want to see if anybody notices this. And I was on a podcast about a year ago, and the guy was like, he had read all of them, and he goes, "Is all this connected together?" And I was like, "Oh, you noticed that?"
Nice. No, that's always cool. I always enjoy when you read a writer's work, and then as you read the books, you start connecting little pieces. Like, wait, that was mentioned over here in this book.
Yeah.
And then you read another book, you're like, wait, that was mentioned in the other two books, and you're like, I see what you did there. Yeah. And I enjoy Easter eggs like that. And I say this all the time, like, I just enjoy finding those little nuances to the writers and to the artists where they drop those little things in their work. And you're like, look at that. And then look at that over there. I see what you're doing. I'm on to you. Yeah, those are always really fun for me.
It's very subtle because, I was like, I didn't want to say, oh, I'm creating this big universe or whatever. I just want to kind of like leave a little, like you said, little Easter eggs that you can say, oh, this connects back to that maybe. But they're really probably the only couple. Most of the stuff kind of stands on its own. And like I said, I've got, horror, science fiction. The book that we're going to do in a couple months through Kickstarter is called 2 Tons of Fury, and we've already did 2 issues of it.
You've been doing a whole lot of advertising for that one.
Yeah, and Ben from Antarctica actually republished the first issue for us, and then we did an issue where the 2 characters meet Tomorrow Girl, and this is a really fun book to write because it takes public domain characters, and the 2 main characters are Herbie the Fat Fury and Fat Man the Human Flying Saucer. So as you can tell with those characters, the book is not very serious. It's very, and the one we have coming up that's going to be in probably March or June, depending, because we're working on it right. Well, it's about half done, and we don't want to, go to Kickstarter until it's finished. Is going to be 2 Tons of Fury versus Cthulhu. So it's going to be a very weird book.
You know what? Cthulhu's been getting a lot of love the last 2 years, so more power to him.
Yeah. Well, I read somewhere that and this was before most of the NSFW comics popped up, became the big thing. That Cthulhu was like the biggest draw in comic books on Kickstarter. The Cthulhu comics.
There's a lot. You can literally just type that into Kickstarter, and I bet it produces $50. Yeah.
So I was like, how can I work that into, and I just, this is about the most weird, way that we're going to, these characters are going to meet and we're throwing in some, like we're going to throw in Buck Rogers as guest stars in it, Flash Gordon.
Oh, nice.
Alan Moore is going to guest star in it. There is actually a comic book character from the 40s named Alan Moore.
Okay.
So I said, I can't not let that, he's only going to probably be in a panel, but I said, I can't not put that in the comic.
The public domain the last couple of years has been a wild source of material. So more power to it. I've enjoyed seeing a lot of these weird characters coming back today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And the weirder, the better, that's the way I see it.
Oh yeah. So, this book is very, very weird. One of my biggest influences in my writing is Steve Gerber, who created Howard the Duck.
So good.
And he wrote for me the best run on the Defenders ever. But Steve Gerber was always his stories were so absurd and such, that's one of the things I like to do in my work. It's like I got to throw something in there that's that's weird or different. I don't want to, almost everything I write has some of that little bit into it.
What's great is Howard the Duck was just in the last season of Marvel's What If, and it was just so refreshing to see him, in present day 2016, a flash from the 80s, getting some more love. I was like, how cool is this? But so let's jump into the indie grind, because you have been doing it for some time now. So what's harder now than it used to be, and what's actually like easier now?
Harder is going to be just the money. It's just it's trying to fund everything. I've probably got like 5 or 6 projects that I'm always working on more things than I can do, but I can only afford to 1 or 2 at a time if I'm lucky. And it's even more. When I worked, I used to work in retail, and I was a store manager. So you're not going to make a fortune in retail, but I made decent money, and I don't have a lot of vices. I don't have a lot of, I'm single. All my money, I guess my extra money went to producing comics, making comics. Yeah. So, it's, I think the hardest part is just finding the money. I think the easiest part now is, back in the 90s, there was people doing self-publishing. Dave Sim did Cerebus. Terry Moore did Strangers in Paradise. I did an issue of Diebold in the late 90s. But, it wasn't as common. And I don't think it was harder to, there was no Kickstarters. There were no crowdfunders. There was no social media. There was no, Facebook or Twitter.
It was producing the comic, putting the comic in an envelope, and then sending it out. All the producers that you knew about, and hoping one of them said, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's like you've got all the social media, you've got the crowdfunding. So I think it's a lot easier to get the comic out there in front of people, it's a lot of work. You spend a lot of time on, going through, Facebook or Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever. I'm on every freaking social media site that,
Oh, you have to. You have to. If you're going to put yourself out there, you have to hit every little corner of the market.
Yeah. And, the crowdfunding, I think, brings in, new eyes too. But so I think that's gotten easier, and compared to what it was back, like in the 90s when I first started, it was hard to, because unless you got in Diamond, you didn't get, people. It was hard to get people to see stuff. And, and Diamond always had that limit of, well, we have to think you're going to sell so many copies before we're going to take you.
Yeah. So what is the one lesson you've learned the hard way that you wish new creators understood before launching their first crowdfunder?
Have the book finished.
That's one that I hear so often. And I understand both sides of that, right? I understand, like, some people aren't going to be able to make the book they want to make without launching first.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side that believes the book has to be finished and then you launch. So I can see both sides of that line. And, I've supported comics on both sides of that line. And it really just depends. You can tell the person who is, working on getting the book finished. And the only way the book is getting finished is if they crowdfund it to get it completed. And you can tell the ones who are driven to get that done. And they go above and beyond what most people would even dream of to make that dream come true for themselves. And I always love seeing it because they're so passionate about the book and about the story they're trying to tell. And they're so passionate about getting it funded. And I love having people like that on the podcast because it makes you feel a certain kind of way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But then I've seen the opposite of that as well, where it's like, I would never do it this way. And I'm like, hey, I get that, but some people don't have the money to make that
definitely. Kind of everybody has to do it the way that works best for them, because like you said, some people don't have that money to, to pay the artist or whatever. And
spendable income is hard to come by.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've to get Akemi done. I've used a credit card, and I'm hoping I make enough money that I can pay this back, so I don't get all that.
I hear you. So, how do you personally measure success at this stage of your creator career? Since you're retired, and like, how are you measuring success these days when it comes to, creating comic books?
To me, it's as long as I'm enjoying it, I feel like I'm successful. As long as I keep 100%. Liking what I'm doing, I would like to, my goal is, I would like to be able to at least pay for what I'm doing. If I can make enough money to pay for my next comic, then I'll be happy. I have bigger goals that I'd like to, maybe, be able to make a better living through my comics, but I've been doing this long enough that I know, well, that may never happen. You hear the stories of Robert Kirkman's and the Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, but there's 100 more people for every one of those guys that they may keep struggling to put their books out, but that's going to be their life. I keep working to put the books out. And, as long as I enjoy it and have fun doing it, to me, that's success right now. As long as I don't keep losing too much money doing it,
I feel you.
I do conventions, that's right now. Conventions have probably been my best where I do most of my selling. I usually do quite a few conventions. I try to do at least one convention a month, if not more, So.
Okay. That's not bad at all. At least you're not out there trying to hit like 4 or 5 in a month, and it's just like, you're doing how many? Like, I'm excited whenever I see creators dropping their con schedules. It's one of my favorite things to see if they're going to be close to me, to where, like, because there's a few signatures out there that I still haven't got yet that I really want. And a lot of them are from people overseas. And there's one Korean artist who I was hoping I was going to be able to get a signature from last year at a local convention. But they were like, oh, I'm not going to show up until 1 p.m. because I'll be in my room doing commissions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, I'm trying to be out of here by lunchtime.
Yeah.
So I was able to get all the others that I had planned on, and plus one that I didn't even know was going to be there. But I was just like, I'm not sticking around that long for your signatures, for you to be able to. I mean, I get it. You make most of your money off of commissions. Got it. I completely understand that. Like, dude, I just wanted a damn signature on a comic book. on a Something Is Killing the Children book, actually.
Yeah.
It was a virgin print of one of his covers that he did. And I was just like, I really wanted that sign. Like, God.
Yeah.
Like, the whole day I was like protecting this book and hoping, to get this thing signed. And then it just didn't happen because he was like, oh, I'm in my room till like 1 or 2 o'clock. And then I'll only be on the floor from like this time to this time. I'm like, dude, what the hell? But I understand as well. I get it. So I'm watching his convention schedule going, okay, where is he going to be close to me or close to a friend of mine to where I can send them the book?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need you to do me a favor. I will pay your way. I will do whatever. But can you go get this signed for me by this one guy?
Yeah.
But no, it's cool that you get to do at least one a month. That's pretty good. The area I live in that would not be possible because there's just not that many around.
Well,
so I envy that.
I'm in Louisiana, and surprisingly, there's a lot of local conventions, but I've kind of moved off of the local conventions because I just did so many of them, and people were like, anybody that was interested in my work, most of them had already
bought it. Yeah.
So I'm trying to move, like I'm doing in Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, anywhere.
I did see you say that.
No further than about 8 hours.
Yeah.
Usually 6 to 8 hours. Now, 2 years ago, I did do Heroes Con, and that was like a 19-hour drive, but that was special. That was Heroes Con.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that for like a lot of just local conventions. But so I've got we've got a good bit set up for, like I said, for Texas, Tennessee. I think I've got Georgia and Florida coming. We do a few local conventions. One of the best places I do conventions now are library conventions, library cons.
Yeah, so I got invited to do one of those last year, and the timing wasn't there. I just couldn't, like, I had an interview scheduled for that day as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to cancel this for this. If you let me know ahead of time next year, I will more than happily do it.
I think I did better at library cons than any other convention. And usually
they were going to do the social media portion of it. Like, I was going to come in live stream and talk to people and do that kind of stuff. But that's like an entire day. And I would still have to have somebody to do the filming. And at the time, my daughter was away at college. I had an interview scheduled for that morning with a friend of mine in the UK. And I was just like, I'm not going to cancel that for this. If you tell me months ahead of time, 100% I'm there. Count me in. I will bring some books for the kids. I will do all that. Yeah.
I do at least, there's probably about 3, maybe 4 library cons that I'll go, through the different parishes, around New Orleans.
Okay. So you're down in southern Louisiana.
Yeah. Yeah. We're parish, not county. So people that don't,
Oh, I know. I know. I lived in northern Louisiana.
Okay.
For a couple of years. Yeah.
There's a convention in northern Louisiana in Shreveport that I've done a few years. Econ.
Yeah. I never went to it when I was there. I was just, honestly, I got there, started my job, and I was like, I'm retiring. And I spent the rest of my time trying to retire and do what I needed to do to move on. Nothing against it, but when it's like, what year was it? 2021, 2020, 2021, coming out of COVID, Shreveport got hit by a hurricane, an ice storm, And then a week later, I think it was like 110 in the shade.
Wow.
I was like,
I'll tell you what,
I'm done with this shit.
The convention was in downtown Shreveport, and I've been there a couple years, and downtown Shreveport is the slowest. I mean, it's almost like a ghost town.
It's like a slow town. Yeah, it's like a ghost town down there, but it looks amazing though with all the art and stuff like that. But it does feel like the slowest ghost town in the world.
I'd be looking out on the streets and stuff, and it's not seeing that many people walking around and going, this is just a weird, I mean,
yeah.
I know
most of a lot of people that live there too.
Hmm?
There's a lot of people that live in that area, but it's just wild to go downtown on a Saturday and you can find parking and you can get into places and get what you need to do done. And it's just wild.
Yeah.
But let's hit up this lightning round before we call it a good evening. So can you give us Akemi in 3 words?
Oh, that's tough. I'm terrible about about like log lines or the elevator pitch. I guess it's not much of a lightning round right now.
Hey, it's all good. I mean, you gave us your elevator pitch earlier, so it's all good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite genre to write?
I really don't have one. Like I said, I write in all over the place. I write horror, science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I've got slice of life. It depends on the, lately I've been writing a little more horror, I think, but that'll change. Like Akemi's got a little bit of horror in it, but not a lot. Yeah. It's, so I really can't pinpoint one genre. And I think some ways that might have hurt me because sometimes I think maybe I should have just stuck with one book and one character and just, by now I might have had like 500 issues of it out, but
possibly
I would have got bored with that real quick.
It's one of those where you play what if in your head and you're like, what might have been?
Yeah.
But what is one Diebold comic more people should be talking about?
A Girl and Her Dog.
Perfect.
I thought that was going to be a really big hit. Tony Isabella. I don't know if you're familiar with Tony Isabella.
Yep.
He created Black Lightning. He said when the year that A Girl and Her Dog came out, he called that one of the best comics of anybody of that year.
Big words and high praise right there.
Yeah, and that book was always
that out. That would be in a frame right there.
Yeah. And that book just meant a lot. I mean, it's just kind of a slice of life. It's just about a girl and her dog. And it really, when I wrote it, it meant a lot to me. And it's still, I thought it was going to be one of those books that, could cross over and it sells all right, but it never taken off like I thought it was going to.
Perfect. Digital or print?
Personally, I like print,
Same.
but I think I need to get more into digital because digital, I don't think it's going to take over print. I don't think it's going to become, because there's still something about holding a book in your hand.
Exactly. The smell as you turn the page, the noise the page makes. It's the best thing ever. And I don't know if you've heard of Bad Idea Comics. They print on that like newspaper paper.
Oh,
and
really?
It makes this amazing sound. Like they have a lot of really good titles right now. Like they came out, like I noticed them late last year, and I've been picking up their titles ever since. And they're doing Cul-de-sac. If there's a win book you need to check out Cul-de-sac. It has been amazing.
I'll have to look at that. Yeah, I've heard about
the sound that paper makes. It's like that old school like comic book paper, almost like newspaper.
Yeah.
And it just makes that one particular sound, It's very unique to itself, and I just love it. And the books have just been, like I said, they haven't made a bad book yet. So them and Mad Cave and a few others have just been on fire. Ani Press and EC.
Yeah.
Just doing amazing things over the last like 18 months to 2 years. And I love seeing it. But last one for the lightning round. Indie comics need more fill in the blank.
More exposure, more press, more, getting the word out to people that
100%. And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because, it's easy. Marvel and DC can get, all they got to do is put something out and everybody's talking about them. But indie comics, it's like, it's hard to get the word out unless you're certain people in the indie comic world, it's hard to get the word out.
And again, that's why I sit here and do what I do. That's why I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of my free time where I could be watching TV or doing something else. I would much rather spend that time talking to people like you, John, and just spreading the love and getting your book out to more people. And this is like the best job ever, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and that's, that's people like you doing this is a big help, because, it gets people will see this and, hopefully somebody will say, hey, let me try out a book or two.
Yep.
It's the way I look at it. It's small. You have to win the small battles. You have to, get that out of 100 people. If I get 2 people to pick up the book and read it and like it and want to come back, then that's great. I'm not going to get that 100 people. The odds of 100 people, out of a group saying, "Oh, we're going to all go to." You just have to keep going. You just keep building it. One small step at a time.
100%, 100%. And as long as I can keep doing this, John, you are more than welcome to come back anytime you want.
Awesome.
But before we close it out, John, can you tell everybody where they can find you, Akemi, and all your other socials?
I have let's see. On Substack is pretty much the best place because I've kind of consolidated everything there. It's jholland.substack.com. I keep that updated, usually weekly. Sometimes I'll be on there like every day, dropping stuff. I talk about the new stuff coming out. I talk about old stuff. I talk about creating comics. I use that site for it's just everything that, I want to talk about or write about goes on that site. Fun the Akemi, if you just go into fundmycomics.com and then just look for Akemi, you can find it. It'll pop up. But pretty much I'm on every social media site. So if you type in my name on Facebook or either my name or Diebold Comics, I'm on everything, so you can, I'm pretty easy to find. Some reason on some I'm under my name, some I'm under Diebold Comics because I can't remember when I'm doing these things when I set them up. So, but I'm on Facebook all the time. Facebook is probably the site that I've
been seeing you everywhere here lately on all the indie. If you follow any of the indie comic pages, I've seen you everywhere here lately. So it's been great.
Yeah. Instagram, I've always had an account, but I've never been very big on it, but I've been doing a lot more on Instagram because I've heard Instagram is a really good site to be on.
I'm finally getting Instagram to work for me. So thankfully, I think I've found something that kind of works for me. And here lately, I've been doing pretty good over there. So shout out to all those guys who are following me over there because it's amazing. Every time I log in and get on, I got more followers, and it feels like it's been like this long uphill journey that's finally working. Yeah. So it just feels really good to finally have stuff working for you.
Yeah. So so I'm on if I post something on Facebook, especially if it's anything for one of my books or something, I try to hit all the sites. You're gonna see you're gonna see it on Twitter and Blue Sky and Threads, and
that's how I do it. Actually, is I have pre-written stuff, and a new drop, I start right to left, and I just go one by one. And just drop it in everything all at one time. And then I'm like, okay. And finally, like I said, everything's starting to fall into place now. And it's been amazing interacting with a lot of people and getting to know a lot of people. But
the only site that I'm not on really that I've heard is that I need to be on is TikTok. heard TikTok has a pretty good sized comic community, but
Yeah.
I'm not a video guy. I'm not going to make, videos. And one, I don't like myself. I don't like my voice. I don't like being on video. It took me a while to do podcasts because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be there. I don't want to be, And,
it is one of those things where it takes you a few minutes to kind of like I'm looking at myself, I'm listening to myself, and it's just one of those where, I mean, I've been doing it now for a little bit. So for me, it's just kind of like a second nature now. But in the beginning, especially when I would go back and listen to myself later, I'd be like, oh God. Now it's like I listen to myself and I'm like, you know what? I'm not that bad.
Yeah. I'm learning. I can do the podcast now, but I just, I don't know. TikTok is it's a weird site, but I've heard that there's a pretty big comic book community on TikTok. So,
it's one of those where eventually one day I'm going to create an account for the podcast and just post clips and shorts on there.
Yeah.
But right now,
yeah.
But right now I'm just literally I know there's like a certain point I want to get myself to before I go down that road. And I'm almost to that point now. Like there's a number in my head that I want to reach before I do it. And I'm getting closer to that number now. So once I hit that number I'm looking for, that's when I'll probably go, okay, I've got that number where I want it across my platforms. Let me venture with this now, because otherwise I feel like I'm just taking too much at one time and I don't want to do that. So,
yeah.
But John, I want to say thank you for joining us tonight and giving us opportunity to talk about both Akemi and your upcoming Zoop, your digital library that you're going to be selling here soon. And it's been amazing hearing about the legacy of Diebold, because it's truly something spectacular. And just the passion you have to keep indie comics alive, man. It's infectious, and I love to see it. Like I said, I've seen you everywhere here lately, so keep it going, dude.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Like I said, you're welcome back anytime. But if you believe in creator-owned stories, bold ideas, and the people willing to build them, make sure you support their crowdfunders. Follow John's work. They will all be down in the description below this video. And stay connected. This has been the chairman, and the Council of Nerds is now adjourned. This has been the USDN Podcast, where indie comics come to life. Y'all be safe out there.
It's a trap!